You're watching WGBS News Metropolis.
As Gary said, Kevin Mogg is from Metal Arts Foundry, and the two of them have worked very closely together on this project. Come on up, Kevin.
You guys are very, very kind, and I appreciate this opportunity to come into your city, you know, as an outsider to do this. But I don't consider myself an outsider. I've driven this interstate about 6 times in the last, I think, 17 years. I think it was about 17 years ago we did Superman. And I pull into your city every single time with whoever I'm traveling with, and we visit the city, and it's, I just love this place. I was telling Gary this morning, 4 or 5 times a year, no matter where I am in the world, the city of Metropolis is associated with Superman in some form of the news or another. I just love being tied to it in that capacity. And then when we had the opportunity to do Noel, these negotiations started 17 years ago when we were talking with O.D. Troutman. I'm sure an hour ago, Noel was sitting in her hotel room and she says, "We got to go out and do a story." And somebody says, "But it's storming. You can't go out there." Noel, she ordered the storm gone, so that's just what she does in all of her stories. No, you go do it. In fact, I always thought that Superman would never have been Superman had he not been ordered by Noel to be so. So one other thing, and then I'll move on here. We talked about the Baptist following the Methodist. Well, how about a Mormon following both of them? In building this sculpture, and when we did the maquette, and I challenge each one of you to go to the Chamber of Commerce. Is that the maquette? She's about this tall in bronze in the chamber. Study the monument carefully, and then go look at the maquette and look for a major difference. There's a change from the maquette to the monument. And the artist will take their liberties. They'll do the maquette, and then when they do the large one, they'll do something slightly different. But this is it's a little more, well, you might call it subtle, but I call it major. But there is a difference, and I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell Angie, and then she can start telling whomever she wants to. But she's the only one that knows, and the artist. The sculpture was, like you say, it was enlarged in clay at the studio, and once the artist was satisfied with it, then we sent photographs to your hardworking committee, and I can attest that Clive Wills, he worked tirelessly on this project, and then partway through it, I got hooked in with Angie, and through the emails, the photographs sent back and forth, these people were highly committed, and I perceive this gift as a gift from these hardworking committee members. Obviously, Miss Neal deserves what she gets, but these committee members are responsible for it being right here in this beautiful location. And so, I mean, let's give them a round of applause, or else we would not have had this at all. I know they had several major hurdles that they had to overcome that I was aware of over the many years that this was discussed and talked about. So, as we're going to unveil her, there's a synergy that occurs, and I've been to many, many unveilings of monuments to individuals like this. And when Superman was unveiled, there was a synergy of celebration of something. But I can tell you right now, feeling the spirit that's here today, when Noel Neal is unveiled, there's going to be a synergy of emotion. And it all is going to come together at one time. And so, let her rip, because it does happen every time on these things. So, and that's what I have to say today. Thank you.
It's Tara Alsip. She is a local resident who is an architect, and she designed this closet. I want to say a big thank you to Tara. Let's bring Larry Ward up. He is Miss Neal's manager, and he is also a very frequent visitor to Metropolis. So we'd like for you to come up and say a few words, please, Larry.
What is it with these low mics? Hey, listen, it's really difficult for an agnostic to follow a... I'm just kidding, Listen, it says here that I'm Noel Neal's manager, but I have to be honest with you. You can't manage Noel Neal. Noel Neal does exactly what she wants to do, when she wants to do it, and how she wants to do it. All I can do is just make mere suggestions and hope that she agrees with me, which she never does. The truth is, I'm really nothing more than Noel's pack mule. And she knows it because she treats me like Jimmy Olsen. And that will not change. All that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe to my mom, my dad, and to the adventures of Superman. Like Gary had mentioned prior, I grew up in the 50s and 60s watching television. We got maybe 2 or 3 channels, and every day at 4 o'clock there was the Adventures of Superman with George Reeves, Noel Neal, Bob Shane, Jack Larson, and John Hamilton. Those were the great days for us growing up. And for me to eventually find myself in a position where I could actually know Noel Neal and actually work with her was one of the greatest thrills of my life. I was very honored in 2003 when I got to write Noel's biography. And let's just say it wasn't something that she willingly participated in. If you did not ask her a direct question, she did not volunteer anything at all. Even with the 2006 update, which was a much thicker book, still, I missed a few things. And Noel, to this day, I'd really like to know the truth behind your relationship with Howard Hughes. True story. And what really happened that night in William Holden's hotel room where you left your earrings. And exactly what is your relationship with Tom Selleck? Noel is really a very shy person. And she's a very kind person, and she's a very giving person. But you know, Noel has had tragedies in her life, like most of us. She's gone through innumerable marriages and, and unhappiness in that sense. But, in 1959, she lost a very good and very dear friend of hers. And his name was George Reeves. And like many of us, she grieved. Shakespeare said it best when he said, "Let us sit upon the ground and share sad stories about the death of kings." Well, to Noel, George was king. And to many of us, George was king. And he is still king, and we still grieve for him. Noel went through a period where it was very difficult for her. And George remains with her to this day. And I think George is with us today. George remains in Noel's heart. He was a very kind and loving person. The thing about Noel, after having written her biography, there was a couple other things I learned about her. One, her extensive entertainment background, the fact that she is shy, she is humble, she is assertive, she is confident in her abilities, she knows who she is, and she's one of the brightest people I have ever met. Now, as Lisa said, who does that describe? Describes Lois Lane. See, the thing is, Noel did not play a character. She simply played herself. And the person you saw on screen is exactly the same person that you saw off the screen. Noel Neal is Lois Lane. Thank you, Noelle.